Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. I've been on something of a Daria kick this week. I've been watching a whole bunch of clips on YouTube of Daria. Remember the Beavis and Butthead spin-off? Which turned out to be a lot more than a Beavis and Butthead spin-off. I'm sure Gen X slacker nostalgia already exists, and it will prominently feature Daria as one of its heroes, modern day Holden Caulfield, uh, pointing out all the hypocrisy and double dealing and phoniness that permeates both throughout their own generation as well as the generations older than her own. And while that is very much present in the show, most of the show actually takes a step back from it, and or actually within the development of the show, it more often than not takes a step backwards and looks at how that attitude develops, what justifies it, and also how Daria and arguably her best friend Jane as well go beyond that, as well as how characters around them change their justifications for the ways they behave. That is something that is very interesting and very uh, subtly done throughout throughout the whole show, and ultimately I think that is what makes it most memorable. The fact that it starts off as a pretty light comedy, but then actually it finds out actually find out it has something pretty meaningful to say. And to me at least, Daria will remain will always be the face of teenage apathy, the face of realizing what it means to need to get involved in the world of adults, and to navigate a whole set of rules and conventions that you don't necessarily agree with, and the constant push and pull between having to stand your ground and not engage, or stay as you are but have life pass you by. That is my main takeaway from this show, and I ultimately hope that is what makes it. That is not really what I hope. That is what I know makes it still stand out and still makes it worthy of discussion even now. Even now, almost 20 years after it was finished. It actually is about to get its own spin-off based on Jodie, I imagine. So yeah, not pretty bad for not pretty bad for a show that was originally spun off from Beavis and Butthead. Which it now kind of overshadows in a lot of ways. And because of that, I kind of wanted to discuss about my favorite episodes from the run of the show. And I have a list for that, corresponding to that, and it's on my tablet as usual. And however, before I go into it, I have to say I'm going to go full spoiler on this. So I'm assuming that if you've watched this so far and plan to watch further, you have already seen it. So spoiler alert from now on. You've been warned. Before I go into the list proper, however, I want to give my thoughts on some honorable mentions. First honorable mention is Death Takes a Holiday, Season 3, Episode 4. This one is kind of disliked within the Daria community because it takes a pretty far left turn, which is really odd. But honestly, I appreciate the oddness and the fact that they still play it as straight and as serious as they do. it I would go on to say that it actually makes the whole situation that much more funny. But yeah, that's just my opinion. The second honorable mention I'll give is to the season finale of season 2, namely Right Where It Hurts. So yeah, season 2, episode 13, which is about Daria having to write a story about the people in her life, and she realizes she doesn't really perceive the people in her life with that much depth, and the story really forces her to confront that, at least to some extent. And also, I kind of like what the the kind of stuff the animators were allowed to do given this loose format. I also want to make or mention a dishonorable mention, namely Daria the musical episode. This show is not the kind of show that can support a musical episode, and it absolutely fails on its attempts at humor or drama. So yeah, it is by all the worst episode of the run. So now let's talk about the best. Starting with number 10, season 2, episode 11, See Jane Run. This episode marks Daria's best friend Jane entering the high school track team, and that causes the first I'll say major strain or friction in her friendship with Daria, because they kind of cultivated this image of themselves being no nonsense outsiders who push against the phoniness of their peers in their world. And Daria feels betrayed because she sees Jane as directly participating in that nonsense. They ultimately make up, and I'll say the things they do within this episode, the ways that particular friendship gets tested and then finally overcomes it, makes for a very nice episode and a pretty decent opener for the list. At number 9, the show premiere, season 1, episode 1, The Esteemers. This is where Daria moves into Lawndale, gets acquainted with everyone, including her best friend Jane, and we see what defines most of the characters. They do move beyond their initial definitions, at least in part. However, this show really does a lot of legwork, and it does it completely effortlessly. It manages to display where these characters start very well, and shows a world that is very dynamic and very lively. So for that it gets number 9 on this list. At number 8, season 3, episode 10, Jacob Hearts. In this episode, we see Daria's father, Jake, have a heart attack, and his mother is actually coming over to the Morgendorfer house in order to take care of him. And throughout the episode, we find out more about his backstory and what motivated some of the ways he has developed and he turned out. And this episode also sees Daria become confronted not just with her own mortality, but with radio personalities who have set up a booth near her high school, and they are annoying in a good way. I'll say that they're annoying in the way they are supposed to be, and I'll say the contrast these two plot lines creates is very interesting, and and it turns out to be surprisingly good at driving 22 minutes of conflict. At number 7, we have Season 2, Episode 6, Monster. In this episode, Daria decides to film her sister for a project, and so she and Jane follow her while she does her thing. And as she follows her sister Quinn, with whom she has been pretty antagonistic so far, she finds that after a while she starts to emulate her in various ways. She sees that the differences between them start to become blurry, and in order to overcome that, she ultimately decides not to introduce some footage that she thinks would have destroyed her sister's social reputation. She decides to spare her specifically in order to create the distance they have again. And yeah, actually I think that is a pretty good initial exploration of the relationship between the sisters, and it turned out to be very useful in later episodes. And also, this is the first episode that has a very creative dream sequence, which does come up again and again, and it is almost always used pretty well. Okay, that being said, number 6, Season 4, Episode 13. So yeah, the season finale, Die, Die, My Darling. A lot of Daria fans are already wincing a bit now, because in Season 4, Jane got herself a new boyfriend, Tom, who has kind of similarly to Daria, has a very deadpan, very dry, very matter-of-fact style of presenting himself. And throughout the 4th season, Tom and Daria constantly are brought into situations where they spend time together and grow ever closer as friends. However, Jane does turn jealous, and this episode is the episode where the triangle breaks up, so to speak, because Jane calls on Daria to dye her hair. The dye job ends up poorly, and then towards the end of the episode, Daria and Tom finally kiss and become a couple, and that really causes a major separation between Daria and Jane. Separation that will take a whole TV movie to address. This episode is very good at using the stuff that was using what was built up throughout the whole season up until then, and it finally comes to a not necessarily a boiling point, but a blowout point. And it is a very and I just enjoy the way it pans out, which is why it is up here at number 6. At number 5, also from season 4, I think, episode 8 or maybe 10, Psychotherapy. 2 words, Psychotherapy. In this episode, Helen is up for a promotion. However, before she can get the promotion, her and her family have to go to a psychiatric resort in order to get themselves figured out. And in this episode, we get to see a lot of the tension that has been built up within the Morgendorfer family unit. Finally reach a peak, finally reach a boiling point. And it is another one of these kind of simple ideas that actually is explored very well and is utilized very efficiently in order to tell the story it is meant to tell. At number 4, Season 3, Episode 2, Through a Lens Darkly. It comes right after the musical episode, so it would have been among my favorites anyway, but still, it is definitely among the best episodes of the show. And in this episode, Daria decides to forgo, or is persuaded to forgo her usual thick glasses in exchange for contact lenses. And she finds that she likes the way she looks, and others also like the way she looks, and she likes receiving that attention. And that goes against how she sees herself as this clever outsider who has no reason to engage with others. And because of that, she kind of struggles with that realization throughout the episode. It is very well done, and it is very interesting to see how she goes through. Eventually, the status quo remains, but I feel like but the justification for it is I think still very strong. And in the end, I have to mention the absolute best quote of all time, courtesy of Jane. Why settle for vanity when you can have pure egotism? I'm sorry, but that is just genius. And now the top 3 episodes. I really could have put these in any way, and I might have put these in any other way if I did this list at any other time. However, for now this is the order I'm having them in. At number 3, Season 1, Episode 13, so yeah, the first season finale, The Misery Chick. In this episode, Tommy Sherman, a former Lawndale High alum, dies in a freak accident after Jane wished he was dead. And because the fact that someone she wished would die just died, she nopes out of school for most of the rest of the episode, leaving Daria by herself to confront the reactions of her peers. That is funny enough on its own, and kudos to the writers who managed to get some humor out of this pretty dark situation. However, what makes this episode great, what makes it stand out, is not directly that, but more so the fact that how Daria finally talks to Jane about it when they meet up again towards the end. This really is the moment that cemented their friendship, their relationship, and it is very touching, and it showed me that they are indeed one of the strongest female friendships in all of television. At number 2, I'm going to put the series finale, so Season 5, Episode 13, Boxing Daria. I already mentioned how Season 4 ended, and then between Seasons 4 and 5 there was a TV movie called Is It Fall Yet?, where Jane and Daria spend some time apart, and then towards the end of the movie they turn back to being friends. But they don't necessarily rekindle the friendship as it was. They still have some healing and figuring out to do. And throughout Season 5, Daria constantly gets pushed in various ways. First of all, she has to build up her relationship with Jane again. Second of all, Quinn is going through something of a character arc where she tries to become less shallow, and their relationship also changes. And Daria finds that Tom isn't really that interesting as a boyfriend, and she often feels like she's taken for granted. And all of that change, all of that isolation, all of that loneliness comes back to haunt her when she sees a refrigerator box in the front yard and is reminded of a time in her youth when she was much less certain of herself, when she felt no, much more alone, when she sought to isolate herself voluntarily to a place where she didn't have to cause trouble. And she tries to relive that in this episode, but finds that it doesn't work, and it actually makes the rest of her problems that much worse. For example, I think Tom breaks up with her in this episode, and ultimately in her darkest moment she once again turns to Jane, and this is where they both realize what their friendships really mean to each other. And you can say whatever you want about season 5, but the fact that it had this ending where the two friends finally make up, that to me, that justifies everything. It goes into some pretty sad and pretty dark places, this episode, but I ultimately think it ends up in a pretty positive, pretty happy place, and therefore I have no qualms calling it one of the best episodes of the entire show. But not the best. That honor goes to the season 2 opener, Arts and Crafts. Yeah, I think you already know the you should already know the story here, but I'll go through it anyway. Daria and Jane decide to submit an art piece for a school presentation. However, their teachers decide to change their art piece. So they decide to then deface the changed art piece, and when they are confronted by the school principal, Daria decides to stand her ground because she knows that she's doing the right thing. And when the school principal calls up her mother, her mother is like, no, my daughter is in the right, so yeah, therefore she's gonna go away scot-free. And that's exactly what happens. I like this episode not necessarily because Daria gets away scot-free, but more because it actually manages to utilize the initial premise of the show very well, and manages to expose the inherent hypocrisy in high school education. It manages to show off the strength of the relationship between Daria and Jane. It manages to show off the support Daria has from her mother. It manages to show off how conceited the teacher characters are. So yeah, it very much utilizes the initial premise of know-it-all who is genuinely in the right. It manages to utilize. Okay, I'll do that again. It manages to best utilize this its conceit of know-it-all who actually knows better than anyone else to its full potential. And I think a lot of other Daria episodes strove to do that, but none really did it as well. Still, I think what makes Daria most worthwhile as a show is not necessarily the times when it played into it, but more the times when it transcended it. And for that, and also at times, even for times when it played its initial premise straight, because at times that is also necessary, I think it is worth remembering as probably one of the best animated shows of all time. And that was all I had to say about that. If you have anything you'd like to add, the comment section is wide open. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you didn't, then go ahead and dislike it. I don't care. And if you want to see when my next video comes out, then, well, you can subscribe. Maybe also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will require of its users in the future. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.